I had this coach when I was in high school that he said like excuses are like a rear end, right? Like a backside. Everybody's got one and they all stink, right? Honestly, my coach was a little bit more graphic than that, but I figured maybe I would doctor it up a little bit here. But you know what? I mean, we all tend to have excuses for when we fail or come up short or whatever. But man, excuses are just excuses. What is the real reason something didn't happen? What is the real problem that needs to be addressed? In the Bible, there's this really cool banquet. There's this parable that Jesus taught about. It's this banquet that everybody was invited to, but people started to make excuses as to why they could not come. And it was just this, it's a really cool parable. It's found in Luke chapter 14, but one of the verses there, verse 18 of Luke 14 says, "But without exception, they all began to make excuses." They began to make excuses and say they couldn't come to this really great, wonderful, cool banquet that was being thrown. And why did they make excuses for that? Well, Jesus taught this parable, relaying it to people's response to the kingdom of God. That was kind of what he was after. But for you and me today, let's think about our version of excuses. What kind of excuses do you give? What excuses have you given today? I remember being younger and being a kid and making some mistakes. I remember playing baseball one time, and I was running around the bases. We were in the end of a doubleheader, and I had hit the ball, which was crazy because that was rare for me. But anyway, I'd hit it, and we had 2 outs, and we were down by 1, and I was going to be the guy getting on, base and trying to keep the thing going. But we had 2 outs. Well, anyway, I hit the ball. I had no idea where it went, to be honest with you. I started running towards first, and as I ran towards first, I thought I heard the coach saying, "Go, go, go," meaning go ahead and go to second. I was like, man, I must have got a hold of that, But turns out he was saying no. He wanted me to stay at first. Well, what had happened is I went ahead and rounded first, and as I started going towards second, I looked up and realized that the second baseman was coming at me with the ball. And I tried to plant my cleats in the ground and turn and go back, but it was too late, and my momentum made me go down on the ground. He tagged me, game over. So when it was over, I tried to honestly blame it on my coach. I told him I thought he was saying, "Go, go." But in reality, I knew that wasn't our signal. I knew that I needed to watch for his arms and watch for other cues to know what I was supposed to do. He wasn't waving me through first. He was telling me to stop. He was telling me no, 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 and his hand signals matched that. But when I messed up, I blamed my mess up on my coach, and I was wrong. Excuses stink, and it's like everybody's got one, and they spread like a virus. We blame the refs. We blame our teammates. We blame our coaches when things don't go well. We even blame the weather when we don't play well. We make excuses for why we were late to practice. We make excuses for why we didn't work out. We make excuses about why we missed a shot. You name it. We make excuses. We like to justify why we didn't do something or why we didn't do something that we should have. And it's easier to make excuses every single time we make them. We just kind of keep doing it. There's this guy named Don Wilder. He has this really cool quote about excuses, and here it is. I'll read it. "Excuses are the nails used to build a house of failure." Wow, that's intense. Excuses are the nails used to build a house of failure. Every excuse that we make may seem insignificant. It might seem like not that big a deal, but at the end, it helps hold together a life of failure. And nobody sees the nails, but they're there. Like I said, in Luke 14, there's a lot of excuses, and Jesus kind of exposes them. He said, "I've invited you to this great banquet, to this great opportunity, to this great feast." And people just found excuses to why they could not join and do those things which God was asking them to do and giving them and blessing them with. Excuses like, I just bought a field and I need to go see about it. Please excuse me. Excuses like, I just bought 5 yoke of oxen and I'm on my way to go try them out. Please excuse me, I can't go. And another said, I just got married. I can't come to the banquet. Excuse after excuse after excuse. And sometimes we miss out on some great things when we make that many excuses. Excuses never make you better. They don't. And they don't change your circumstances either. They actually solidify them. When excuses become a habit, and that's kind of just what we do, and it's kind of what we're used to and accustomed to, we're running on a road to failure. These 3 words are sure sign that you are giving an excuse of some kind. These words like could have, would have, and should have. I could have done that. I would have done that. I should have done that. These 3 words are sure signs of an excuse. Instead of pointing the finger, we need to take responsibility and assume ownership for the mistakes or for the problem. We must own both the problem and the solution. It's time to stop making excuses, y'all. Let's do that together today. Maybe talk about some of these questions that I'm about to share with you. Have you ever played the blame game and tried to say that something that happened was somebody else's fault and like make an excuse for why things didn't work out? How can that be destructive to your team? Do you ever, another question, do you ever take personal responsibility or do you make excuses? Just be honest. Why do you do either of those? Something to think about today, and I just want to encourage you, man, listen, we all mess up from time to time. Just own it and repair it. Own it and repair it. You don't have to make an excuse as to why it happened, but what you can do is keep it from happening again. Talk about that today as a team. Talk about that with some of your friends. If you're in the habit of making some excuses, tap the brakes. Let's start naming it and dealing with it instead of just defending our actions. Talk about that a little bit today. Have you ever played the blame game and said it was somebody else's fault? And how is that and why is that destructive? And also consider, are you starting to take personal responsibility in your life or are you just making excuses? Listen, man, excuses are like rear ends, right? Everybody's got one and they all stink. Let's quit making excuses and let's just start living better and doing things the right way and encouraging one another where we can. I hope you have a great talk about this. I know it's a challenge, but anyway, good luck with all that. Talk to you soon.